question. Who is looking for pleasure and why? Obviously, when we say that who is looking for pleasure, we can say it is the ego I is looking for pleasure. Ego I is looking for pleasure. Why it is looking for pleasure? Because it cannot access real self. As long as the ego self is there, real self cannot. Now I can give you an answer in one word: absence of viveka. Viveka is an ornament of intellect, or whether you say it is intellect or ego or mind, it is the same thing. Behind the intellect, awaken to Viveka, Viveka will find the real self and drop the ego self. And we will stop looking for pleasure from outside. And now I have to expand this to make us understand clearly. So when we when we understand all these words, I see you because of sun, because of light. I see you in the presence of light. We hardly become aware of the light, but the light does not change. I change and you change. I see an object, light remains the same. I see you, light remains the same. So, can we give this light a name? Let us give it a name of witness. Because light does not do anything, whether I see you or I don't see you, whether I see your room or I don't see. So, it is a witness. Let us give it a name. It's only a name. So, light is simply present. But in the presence of a light, object is illuminated, object is seen. But the light does not do anything. Light does not say, here you are. Huh? Now, I can see you. Light does nothing, totally inactive, but present. So that present is a witness. Witness is known as Sakshi. That is why I know you. I see you. You are known to me. I see the room. I see the background. Everything is there. Witness. Light is the witness. Now come to your question. Why I am seeking pleasure? Who is the witness? Let us understand that. So once we understand who is the witness of this question, why I am seeking pleasure and why? In what presence I have this question? Let me rephrase this question. What is the witness inside by which I know the body, I feel the body, I feel the thought, I know the thought? What is that witness that does not change, but without its presence, I don't know anything, I don't have any thought? I'm making it simple. I see you in the presence of light. You are known to me through the mind in the presence of a light. Light is different than the mind. That is why I say it is a witness. My mind says you are crazy. What is that witness? Who is the witness? Who is the witness? Who is the witness? That is different from the mind. That is different from the mind. Mind may say that you are crazy, you are good, you are bad. I have a thought. I want pasta because it gives me pleasure. Any thought. What is the witness inside by which I know the body, I know the thought, I know the feeling, I know I am good, I know I am bad? When I say I know the body, it means body is known in the presence of consciousness. Consciousness is witness. Consciousness is not the mind. Mind may say anything. Mind says that I am crazy, I am good, I am bad. Consciousness does not change. Problem is there. What is that problem? It is very easy to say, I see you, I see your house, and you are different from me, separate from me, right? Because it is too far. But when it comes to body, mind, intellect, ego, problem comes. It is very near. How do I know it is ego self or real self? It is mixed up. I cannot separate this body from me to know that I am different from the body. Physically, I cannot separate. But there is no difference between this body and room and the world outside. There is no difference. Body is matter, material world. When I see the world, I see it is separate from me. It's very easy. That's why we don't talk yoga can enter there. We already know house is separate from me, clothes is separate from. There is no need of yoga, Eastern wisdom. We don't need that. I know it. Car is different from me. So where the Eastern wisdom work has to work, which is very near to me, which acts like consciousness but is matter. What did I say? It is acting like as if it is consciousness, but in reality, it is matter. I'm moving my hand, speaking through my tongue, and the lips are moving. No, it's moving. I'm conscious. Body is there. Consciousness are so much mixed together, so close that the body, mind, intellect acts like as if it is conscious, as if it is conscious. Ego, ego self has taken the birth. Ego I has taken the birth. Now, like attracts like. First answer. Why I am seeking pleasure outside? Ego is matter, but it is acting like consciousness. For all practical purposes, this ego, I am here. When you say you are listening to me, it means you know ears. This is matter. It is so much mixed up, like a glue, that I'm not able to separate. And I can only separate by the intellect. The intellect must receive the right knowledge. That knowledge leads to viveka. Then only I'm able to separate. I can separate my house easily. Okay, I will leave the house. I have sold the house. I cannot sold my body. I cannot sell my body. So, what is the witness inside by which I know the body? So, the first understanding body, mind, thoughts, feelings, sensation, craziness, goodness, right, wrong, consciousness. That light is consciousness. Outer light, sunlight. Inner light, consciousness. So, first step to understand witness inside is ego and witness outside is sun. Am I right? Understand. Witness inside because that ego knows I have a thought, I have to do this, and I have to go and I have to eat pasta to get pleasure, etc. etc. Do you see that? It is here and now. We need not to do anything. It is here and now. The moment I have a thought, feeling, sensation, I'm a doer, I'm an enjoyer, it is ego self. How can you say? Light, sunlight is a witness outside, it does nothing. The real self inside does nothing, it is simply present. But when I become a doer and the enjoyer, and I have a thought, and I am seeking to fulfill my desire, ego self. But falsely, it acts as a witness. Answer question is why I am seeking pleasure. This I am falsely acting as a consciousness, falsely, and seeking happiness outside. We wake up in the morning, that ego self says, let us grab a cup of coffee to feel good. To feel good. So you see that. That ego self first is the false I. It has a knowledge, like the real self also knows. Real self is inside, ego self is inside. Both knows, both appears conscious. So that ego self says, let me grab a cup of coffee to feel good. First distinction, the real self is neither the doer nor the enjoyer. Why? It is full of peace and happiness all the time. So, subtle ego self is always looking for pleasure. Why? Because that ego says, I am the body, I am the mind, I am the thought, I am the desire, I am the craziness, I am depressed, I am stressed, I am happy, I am unhappy. That is why we understood I have to become aware where the intellect is sitting. How do I know that where the intellect is sitting? By thought. Thought is I-ness plus object. Now let us go a little deeper to recognize ego I or real self. Is it ego or the real self? How do we know? Both are inside. Both are performing almost the same function because they know the world outside. One difference, the real self is neither the doer nor the enjoyer. Doer and enjoyer means I have to perform an action. Karma yoga. Real self cannot be seen. But this ego self is seen. How do you know that? There you have to become aware, and the problem will be solved. How? The real self cannot be seen. So let us understand how the ego is seen. Whatever is seen cannot be real self. That is very clear to you.
Yeah.
I am depressed. I see ego. I am happy. I see ego. I'm going to eat pasta. I have seen ego. Don't you see that?
But
See?
I am, it's already ego. Seed
Yes.
of ego, I am.
So whatever is seen, seen means felt, experienced, known is ego self.
But all knowledge is in the mind and ego, but not in the real self. Real self just present.
Why? Because the intellect is not looking behind, it is looking in front. So when it is looking behind, there comes the viveka. Viveka means I separated. So how I separate? By knowledge, by listening to these principles. So what is the principle? Similarities. What are the similarities? Similarities. What are the similarities? Both are inside. Both appears to me conscious. Huh? Both appears to me conscious. Both have gets the knowledge. Big difference. The real self knows the entire world as appearance, cup in a clay pot, in a clay, waves in an ocean. But the ego knows them separately. The moment I feel separation, ego is there. That is why I, if I is there, then you are there. If I is not there, you is not there. In real self, there is no I, there is no you. We are going slowly, slowly, step by step. So, 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 what are the differences now? So once we find the differences, we can maintain our awareness and we can enter into choiceless awareness. This ego I, false I, ego I, intellect or mind or whatever you say, you can name anything, borrows the consciousness from the real self. It depends on the real self. The real self is independent. That is why this ego I sleeps in deep sleep. It does not know whether I'm living or dead. Real self knows. Real self knows. This ego works in the waking state and the dream state. How clear it is. You see that? How clear it is. See that? See that, Shravanam. The very important question that you discussed, you raised. Why I am seeking pleasure. Again, understand, again, world near me and world far. So world is far from me. My mind, my ego says, this room, I cannot be the room because I'm different. I see it clearly. But this ego becomes blind when I say, understand, I am not the body. Because that ego works with the body, the mind, the intellect, it cannot leave. Pay attention. Body, not me. Mind, not me. Intellect, not me. Ego, not me. But for all practical purposes, I lose awareness instantly. But I don't see that this ego becomes the seer and the seen both. I am depressed. I have seen it. The same ego says, you are in depression. I am hungry. Hunger is there, I have seen it. And then it says, I am hungry. It becomes seer and seen. There comes the wrong notion and the wrong perception, and all the problem starts. This ego starts looking for solution of all the problems and suffering outside, whether it is seeking pleasure or not. Let us go a little deeper. Patanjali has explained it beautifully. Both are inside, ego self, real self inside. Both claim they know the world. Both are conscious. What is difference? Ego is matter, inert. Real self, it is consciousness. Ego borrows consciousness from the real self. And the nature of the real self is consciousness. Nature of the consciousness is knowledge. It is all knowing. What it is all knowing? The world outside, the pasta outside is appearance. There is no pleasure because I'm of the nature of peace and happiness. That is what the real self says. Ego self says, you like pasta because you are attached to it. So it will go into your body, it will give you a pleasure. Ego says that is how you will become happy because it has a wrong notion that I am the body. But in case of a sleep, ego sleeps, means the mind sleeps, mind means the intellect sleeps, means that I am not the body and the mind. And when I wake up, I feel so much of peace and happiness after a deep sleep. Object is seen in the presence of a light. Light is witness. Body is seen by ego. The light inside is consciousness. What it meaning? What is the meaning of this? Body is seen by ego. It says, here is a body, but it sees that body because of consciousness it has borrowed from the real self. That is why it cannot see the body in deep sleep.
But my liver, it's working. So it means that it's there is some consciousness in working in my liver, and I don't feel it, and it's not became the part of my ego.
I don't feel anything of which I'm unconscious.
But there is consciousness in this part because it's working and function.
Electron, proton, and neutron are constantly moving. It's working. So there is a consciousness there. How can you say that? You start the car, engine starts. You say engine is working. There is a consciousness there.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Go ahead. Go ahead. You see that? You see, the entire world is constantly changing. Changing means it's working. So,
Yes,
so
consciousness everywhere.
consciousness everywhere. That we will come later. Here, the question is ego self, real self. Ego self, real self. Now, why I don't see the real self? Because it is covered by the ego self. It says, don't you know? I am the body, I am the mind, I am the five sense organs, I am the world outside. It is covered. It is covered like the cloud covers the sky. Nothing happens to the sun. Clouds cannot do anything to the sun. Ego self cannot do anything to the real self. But it can, one thing, when it is covered, I have a wrong perception, I have a wrong notion. And who has the wrong notion again? See, it is conscious. Wrong notion. Wrong notion. I want pasta for my pleasure. Wrong notion. For my pleasure. I want pasta for body survival. Go ahead. It does not create any problem. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Can we do anything to sun to ask, show me the light? Light is always there. Consciousness is everywhere. That is, I'm coming to that point. Consciousness is everywhere. But I don't see. Who is saying ego self? Say goodbye to the ego self, and you are already there. You are already there. You see, that is what the choiceless awareness is. That is what. So it means what we can do. What should we do to detach from the ego? I cannot take the ego out from my brain. It's a gray matter, it's a matter, so that, it's a very subtle matter. It sometimes it acts like a consciousness and sometimes it acts like a matter. So I cannot take it out from the head. That is why Patanjali says, do you remember? Five causes of suffering. Avidya is the first. Avidya, asmita, rag, dvesh, abhinivesh, pancha, klesha. For a while, go little, start from the abhinivesh. Abhinivesh word means this mind or intellect is sitting in the body like a strong glue. It is very strong glue is there, gum is there. And that gum is like and dislike. That gum is attachment and detachment. Gum, strong gum. Now ask any question. Why I am seeking pleasure outside? Who is asking? So I
Yeah, it's
forget the sticking like a gum. I forget that it Come on, crazy ego, you are asking the same question. You know the answer. Pleasure where? Body. You are already sitting in the body. Why you are asking this question? Remove that gum. Do you see that here and now? So why that gum? Now go to the raga dvesha. Why abhinivesh? Why I am sitting, intellect is sitting completely in the body? Because of rag dvesh, attachment and detachment. Why attachment and detachment? Because of ego. Why ego? Because of lack of awareness of real self. That is known as ignorance. I am sitting. I heard that the guy was sitting in his home and he took 5, 6 packs of vodka. And then he started fighting with his wife. Hey, beautiful women, I don't know who you are. Take me to my house. Why don't you take me to my house? I am okay. And he is sitting in his house. I forget that where I am. Do you still remember the 10th man story? All the 10 people went for a trip to a village. They crossed the river and they started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ego is always looking outside, it always believes in the seen. Come on, seer. No, seer. I forget completely. That forgetfulness is known as delusion. That delusion is known as ignorance. That ignorance is known as avidya. All 10 people were there. I am so much absorbed into the scene. Why? Ego, self, attachment and detachment, duality, conflict. So, why the duality and a conflict? Because I have a limited knowledge. Who is this I? Ego has a limited knowledge. See the simple example, my friend. Simple, very simple example. I see you. Yes. You see me. Yes. Ego self. But at the same time, I'm aware of lot of things in this room. Do you see that? But ego takes over. I see you. Okay, I see you. You see me. Yes. Huh? Do you see the room, another room behind? No, I don't see it. Ego says. But I'm aware. I know there is a room behind. Do you
But
see your chair you are sitting on? No, I don't see it. I feel it. But I'm aware. I'm aware. What is that awareness? Difference between the ego self and the real self. See that here and now. So, who covers that awareness? Ego self. Ego says, you see that I can pay attention to one thing at one time. Come on, you know it, you are aware. Drop the ego. Consciousness is all knowing.
but ego meditate. Ego looking for real self. Go outside and looking inside. Also ego.
Yes, yes. When this ego or the intellect is filled with the knowledge to make this ego subtle, subtler, subtlest, it is gone. It has no validity. It is gone. The subtlest nature is the nature of real self. It is pure consciousness, undivided, unlimited, source of all the knowledge. One option, one way to understand. Another master explains beautifully that real self gives the consciousness to the intellect or ego, and that ego sees the world.
Yeah.
So it does not want to destroy the world because it is made up of the world itself. But if I continue to maintain the world outside, then what happens? I continue to cover my real self. And when I continue to cover the real self, and that ego wants to know the real self, that ego wants the real self, you come in front of me, then only I will believe. But it cannot become the object of the ego I-ness. And that is the biggest challenge. Pick up everything. Pick up everything. What is too far from me? It's very easy. It is already separate. Eastern wisdom doesn't work. When it comes to very near, ego says, I'm not going to leave you. Show me the real self. Come on, you exist because of the real self. You die for a minute, for a second. Real self is already there. Pay attention. Let us go a little deeper also. No, it is ego self is the real self. No, it is seen, and what is seen cannot become a seer or the knower. Does these glasses see you or I see you? The glasses are ego self. Is telescope a seer or we are a seer? I see the stars. Telescope does not see. Telescope simply magnifies. It is inert, it is matter. Ego self is purely a matter like a telescope. It magnifies. Why? Attachment and detachment. Body sitting in the body. Still, we say, I have seen the stars by telescope. Still, I see. I have seen the stars by telescope. Who is saying ego? Ego is not a clay pot. Does not. Ego cannot be real self because it is present at some time and absent at other time. Ego is present in a waking state, in a dream state, but it is absent in a sleep state. But I exist. It proves that this ego is causing the entire problem, or intellect is causing the problem, or the mind is causing the problem, whatever you say. I exist. Even this ego, the same ego knows I don't know what happened in deep sleep. I don't know where I'm lying down. Ego is a temporary suit, beautiful suit. You go out with the suit and the tie to make a presentation and come back, leave, drop the suit, you are there. One is ego, other is real self inside. We do mistake by claiming ego as real self and forget the real self, which is always a seer, cannot be seen. Ego says, show me, and then ego forgets. Oh, let me eat pasta to have a pleasure first. Let me have a physical pleasure. So now ego is totally sitting in the body. I forget it. Forgetfulness is lack of awareness, it is ignorance. Now, see the other point. The moment I am ego, I create the world. If I'm not the ego, there is no world. Here and now. I
Yeah.
is not there. So what? Do I exist? Yes. Awareness is there. Consciousness is always there. Ego creates a very deep problem, my friend. Internally, at a very subtler level. Ego, I cannot live without the world outside. That is what the ego says. Creates the relationship. The moment it creates the relationship, it has a likes and dislikes. When it has a likes and dislikes, then it is engaged in karma, doer. I become the doer and the enjoyer. When I become the doer and enjoyer, then there is a desire. When there is a desire, then there is a bondage. When there is a bondage, then I'm suffering all the time. You see that? This is what happens. And there is, you don't need to do anything. The problem is that. But when the ego is extremely engaged in karma, then we teachers have to guide, okay, mantra, do the mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, do it, continue to do it, continue. That helps. That loosens the knot. That focuses the mind. That leads to higher level of awareness. That may lead you to viveka. So we are too far. We are too far. Did your parent give birth to ego? They gave birth to the body. I created ego. I built my ego by habit, by likes and dislikes. You see that? See another point of understanding. Do you see that? No parents created ego. They all gave the birth to a physical body. When I grew up, I grew with the likes and dislikes, and then individuality, what we call individuality, what we call personality. Personality is a mask. Persona. Ah, your wife is studying persona. Let her continue to study persona and forget in person. There is no freedom. You see that? No parents give birth to this ego I. My relationship to my mother is through the body alone. And then I invite that my mind with a particular limited knowledge that this physical body is the mother and that physical body is not the mother. So like and dislike, differentiation, seen, and then the entire journey starts in ignorance in our life. I used to say that when you marry a girl, you get two gifts free: father in law and mother in law. Or maybe three gifts: sister in law, brother in law. They come with a gift. So my ego says there is a natural liking for my father in law and mother in law if the girl I marry is good to me. Do you see? At every step, this ego I takes so much negative step we don't realize it.
But so the phrase to stay with real self is there is no sense because there is no such place to stay with real self. Everywhere is the ego, only ego.
Or everywhere there is real self. We have to make a choice. That is why sadhana. You see, we have a choice. Choice. You see, you loosen the knot of the karma by doing nitya and the naimitya karma because you know, you have understood the real self is neither the doer and the enjoyer. So you're asking the ego, come on, can you play either role? not being the doer and the enjoyer. So that ego becomes subtle. It has a glimpse of the real self. Do you see, every teaching is directed to the discovery of the real self. Now I can talk about that. I previously I said perform the nitya karma and naimitya karma. Why I am performing? To have a glimpse of the real self. Now see, another problem comes. Why I am seeking pleasure? Now you get another deeper answer. So I told you, you marry a girl, the girl is good, she is your wife, you get couple of people in gift, father-in-law, mother-in-law, or sister-in-law or brother-in-law. Why I said so? Can you imagine? Can you think of it? Because I feel related to them. What is that related? Here I am, and they are mine. This is known as mamata, attachment. You see, here I am. This is house, and this is my house. I have already created an attachment. This is me. This is mine. This is me, and this is my student. Attachment. Default. I lose awareness. I lose awareness. And all are related to body, physical. Because the girl I marry was born out of the two couple. So here it is me. She is my wife, and she is mine. And then gifts that I got is also mine. Apply this in every aspect, and you will see that, oh, you will laugh. The better is to laugh at the ego self. Don't take it seriously. And then you see, though life says, I'm all knowing, all pervading. What a great, amazing feeling. So now understand, again, go a little deeper. You have raised a good topic. First stage of ego is towards an object. That object is a person or a thing. What a beautiful car, what a beautiful girl, or a boy, or any object of the world. Clear? The first stage. In this stage, ego acts like real self. Why I can say real self? I'm not attached at this moment. I simply see a car or a girl or a boy or any object. I'm different and separate from them. First stage. So I see, pay attention, what I see the difference between the seer and the seen. Second stage. Girl is beautiful. Ego says I like it. Now that ego I thinks and thinks and thinks. Well, who thinks? Intellect. Thinking creates likes and dislikes. Second stage. Third stage. Third stage in the intellect, the I-ness says, she is beautiful girl. I am here. If she could be mine. If. So ego says, let us seek the pleasure. Fourth stage, you own it, you possess it, you seek pleasure. Then what you say? The same girl, first stage, totally different. Seer and the seen was different, separate, totally different. Second stage, third stage, fourth stage, soulmate. Seer and the seen are mixed. This is the problem. All ignorance is caused by the seer and the seen are sticking like a glue. Sticking like a glue. Seer and the seen are totally different. This house and me. Done. Finished. Separate. No problem at all. Do you see is there any problem? No problem. Problem comes by namaste. But not by namaste. It was sticking like a glue. But who can remove this glue? If there is a physical glue, I can remove it. Only way to remove this glue is by knowledge, by Shravanam. Shravanam, you listen to the teacher, the principles, and let these principles becomes yours. You start thinking in the same way. So that is the meaning of Manan. Second, now whatever little doubt is left, practice meditation, you are there. Here is my car. Ego is cheating you. Here is my honey. Ego is cheating you. Seer and the seen are one. Take one example. Now see how the ego destroys our entire life. You are mine. I am yours. That is okay. Even up to that, I can say that one day you will leave me, I will leave you. Okay. Husband and a wife. Even, just consider for a while that is okay, even though they're deeper inside. What this crazy ego says to us. First example that you are married, wife. Now this ego says, you, wife, should think the way I think about me and the way I think about you. Let me repeat it. Married, everything is good, likes, dislikes, we got gift. And now this ego is building me and mineness. How it builds me and mineness? Honey, internally, it is internal. You should think the way I am thinking about me. What I'm thinking about me? Because I am a very good husband. I take care of you. And you should also think about you the way I think about you. What it means? Why you have done this? You see the problem. Means, honey, you don't have any freedom to think the way you think about me and you. You have to think the way I'm thinking. It is such a subtle ego. And we rationalize. How we rationalize? I will prove that you are wrong. You might be doing. And that's why you enter into problem. Do you see that? Now we don't say that it is ego. It's a knowledge. No knowledge. Come on, are you talking of knowledge? You are living in ignorance. Do you see that? So now you do that. If you do like this, then you have a dislike. You may have a dislike, you have a problem, you have a divorce, you have a conflict, and you have a confusion. Then the same ego says, when I got married with you, you were my soulmate. Now you are my soulmate. It is because of my ego, my intellect. Now the ego has taken a very deep root in everything. What I know, what I possess, what is seen to me. So I'm living an egoistic life. Egoistic life is caused by the lack of awareness, which is known as avidya, ignorance. We have to remove this ignorance. See that? See the entire story. Now, because my ego says I like pasta, that gives me pleasure. Forget about it. I'm hungry. Only pasta can give me the meet my hunger. No, you are wrong. Meeting hunger and seeking pleasure are two things. So ego says, don't worry. When I meet my hunger by eating pasta, I will be happy. So I stop thinking. The non thinking causes the ignorance. How to think? The way the Eastern wisdom says this is the way. On these principles, you have to think. How long? Until you get rid of the wrong notions, errors that we commit or the ego commits, then through these concepts also, you are totally free. Are you getting it? Now you see the entire journey. Why I am seeking pleasure? Why I am seeking pleasure? I think that pasta gives me pleasure. So that is the only thing that is right. Because I am thinking the way I am thinking is right. Honey, I don't speak out clearly, but I mean it. So I oppose her or I oppose him. So it means what? The world outside should depend on me. And who is this me? This is ego. This ego. See that? Ego I. After identification, I become that boy, girl, car, object in the mind. Means what? Seer and the seen are together. But that does not exist. The gap between subject and object, seer and the seen, becomes lesser and lesser. So when they become very less, what we say, you see, I laugh internally. Sometimes I have to be very serious when people say, I have was very intimate to my wife or husband, and now I divorced. So that seer in the scene, the gap becomes lesser and lesser. That is what you say, intimacy. Come on, what kind of intimacy you have? And we know we write long articles on intimacy. Have you heard about Bill Gates?
Yeah,
Divorce?
yeah.
What message you are giving to the world?
It's more profitable to be divorced.
You see that what message you are giving? You are known as a wisest person. You have taken care. You have donated the money in charity. Everything is destroyed. Everything is gone. See that? See it in the scene. Intimacy is gone. What we say intimacy between ego self, and the person or object outside. That is why we say it is attachment. Ego, I say, gap is gone. Soulmate, not in all cases. I visualizes soulmate when we meet first time. And then ego, I realizes that now there is a intimacy. Why intimacy? Because now I see you are doing everything the way I am thinking, and you are feeling the way I am feeling, which is not at all possible in this world. Why I say? Because I sit like a gum. This is what I call intimacy. This is what I call soulmate. And I have seen biggest problems of frustration, failure, and divorce who claims intimacy. Patanjali directly says he gives only one sutra. Seer and the seen are falsely sticking like a glue. That is the problem of ego, suffering, everything. How do you know we have become one? Go a little deeper. Don't stop there. Whatever happens to the object or a person affects me. Honey, why you did this? It affects me. Let her do whatever she is doing. Leave her, give her independence, freedom. Today, honey, you are the best for me. She did or he did what I already thought in my intellect. See that? Effect. How do we know we have become one? Effect. That effect may be good or bad. In both the cases, it is attachment.
Yeah.
Car is broken, I am broken. See it in the scene. When honey breaks, then I break. What the, what the hell you guys are doing? What kind of a life you're living? I have seen in my life also a beautiful crockery set was bought, and after a month, one cup was broken by me. It fell down. I did not do it intentionally. These worldly mistakes are bound to happen. I have to tolerate that you have broken the cup for about a year. Every time. No, no, you have to be careful. No, no, otherwise you will break the cup. I did not do it intentionally. Cup and me are together. What? Now we had more than 80 cups. Now there is no complaint. What is the ultimate cause of suffering? We become object. Wife becomes husband becomes wife. We become car, home, long list. And this is known as delusion. The word as such is not delusion. Wall is wall. If the wall is not wall, then I will not go out from the door. I will go out from the wall and hit my head. So what is that delusion? Is this intimacy of the seen and the seen is intimacy. I'm not intimate to my real self. I'm intimate to everyone outside in the world who can never become intimate. So this is the word which we say the delusion. This is known as delusion. Not the beautiful world we see. Not I see the beautiful rose. When I see the beautiful rose, that beauty belongs to the real self. That fragrance belongs to the real self. Rose by name and the form and the color has no validity. You see that? That fragrance remains, lives with you. In my awareness, that fragrance, the beauty of women is not in the body. The beauty is a quality of the real self. So there is a beauty in ugliness in the physical body, and there is a beauty in the white or beautiful body also. We destroy the beauty of the world by ego. I don't like to have a black girl or a boy, but I want all my hair should be black. What a craziness. What do you want to say? And then ego starts playing with the thought unnecessary. Ego plays with us all the time. My older brother, who no longer, I think perhaps he scored good marks in his high school with a particular pen. In the graduation, then that pen was broken. And he cried for a couple of weeks. Come, I did mistake. I put it there. It was broken. So ego destroys us. Ego says, here is a pleasure, more, here is a pain. This ego, now see what Patanjali says. Did you study the five subjective states of the mind? Vikshipt, no, chipt, mood. Mood means simply mad, insane. Ego makes us mad. We do not notice. It makes us mad the moment we wake up until we sleep. Because ego is absent in sleep. We don't realize it. Honey, why didn't you understand this? You should have done like this. Out. Oh, wonderful. You did the work the way I was thinking about it. I will give you incentive. You stand before the mirror. Look very good. Replica in the mirror. Ego. Eating. I simply need to be aware without a choice. The moment you are aware without a choice behind, so the real self you are already there, and let the ego play its role. Then ego becomes a servant. The moment the ego becomes servant, you are done. And if he does not become a servant, then ego says, I am trying to get out of the fear because ego is living in fear. Ego knows there is no ego as such. Then the same ego says we have lot of insecurities. If I get $10 million, then I will feel secure. Even after $90 billion, Bill Gates is not secure. What to talk about? Because I talk about wisdom, but I don't have a wisdom about myself.
Yeah.
Then I have to suffer. And I may say, because I was intimate for, I heard somewhere 27 years of marriage. So means what? 27 years. I was so intimate. Now I am divorcing. Who is divorcing? Ego. One Bill Gates was intimate, other Bill Gates is divorcing, third Bill Gates will suffer. So we have one ego, second ego, third ego. Real self is always one. Ego self are many. Now see that. And if you are many, you are already broken. If you are many, if there are many Bill Gates, you are already broken. You have a wisdom in the science, you have a wisdom in the Microsoft, you have wisdom in the IT, but that wisdom is not applied to find out your real nature. See that? fear, insecurity, stress, sorrow, and the suffering. Intimate Bill Gates, number one. How long? 27 years. Not number one by position. Second, Bill Gates. That is ego self, divorce. Third, Bill Gates. Third, Bill Gates will remember how I lived 27 years of intimacy. Why and how. Fourth, Bill Gates will answer why and how. Sixth, Bill Gates will say, okay, I should have done like this. I should not have done like this. Seventh, Bill Gates. So you have millions of ego self. You realize that. Once you are aware of it, it breaks down. Last point, let me add it, and then we will. There are 1 million ways. The moment your ego or the mind has a thought that I'm going to do this, I will enjoy, I will do this, I will not do this. Ego is working. Just play the role. Play your role every moment. What will happen? The real self will shine from back. Real self is not the doer, not the enjoyer. It is self existent, it is self evident. That is why I gave an example the sun. Sun does nothing between you and me, and still it is because of that light I see you, you see me. That is why it is a witness. That is why we say the real self is a witness consciousness. It is not a doer. That I gets frustrated by doing one thing or not doing something. Real self remains the same because it has to do nothing. I did a mistake. Okay, let me say sorry. Let me remain aware. In the world, we are bound to commit mistakes because karma is defective. See that? See